Well, good morning. Today is going to be all about this thing, the rear axle. Got quite a bit to do on here. Got to weld in unit bearing cups, lower link mounts, upper link mounts. These are going to have gussets on them. This is obviously going to have gussets on them. And then I also have a rear backbone truss that I need to put on here. And it's just going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of time, so I need to be patient, not put a bunch of heat into this thing. I have a habit of not being patient and warping things, putting too much heat into things. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. A little bit at a time. Try to be patient. Well, the first thing I'm going to do here is I have a mock-up third member with pucks in it, and I've made some pucks that fit in the unit bearing cups, and I've got an alignment bar, and for this step I probably don't need the alignment bar, but what I did was check the unit bearing cups for plumb and straightness. They need to be perpendicular to the axle for sure, so you don't have any weird angles on your tires. You don't want to have your rear tires towed in or towed out or cambered in, or anyway. So I've got that alignment bar in there. I put my pucks in, and I'm going to go ahead and start slowly welding up the unit bearing cups to the axle tubes. And I think I ended up doing a root pass with a 3/32 rod, and then I did a cap pass, and I think after the fact I went ahead and did a third pass just for insurance with the TIG welder here. All right, so I got these all tacked in. I checked everything for level and plumb. I'm gonna go ahead and start just running a root pass. And I'm gonna just skip around from side to side, top, bottom. I'll probably just go from tack to tack on my root pass and just get a nice root pass in them, and then go from there. It's a game of patience with this stuff, and that's something that I do not have. I'm not great at being patient, so I just keep telling myself to slow down, and you'll see me going back and forth from side to side, so I don't put too much heat in on one area on the axle housing. And for this particular job, welding in the unit bearing cups, I guess it probably doesn't matter as much because there's not really any. You're not putting heat in laterally on the axle tube to where it could warp, unlike the backbone truss or any kind of a truss system. But I'm just trying to practice with that patience as best I can. All right, so I got a nice root pass in there. I just jumped around and did small sections at a time, top and bottom. I just tried to do things, 180 degrees out, and just went from side to side. So nice root pass in there. Everything's good and warmed up right now, so I'm gonna let it just cool, and I need to address, I think I'll address these link tabs, these lower link tabs next. The the height of them is a little bit out from left to right, so I'm gonna get that squared up, and it's just like the rotation of them on the tube is a little bit off, so I'm gonna get that squared up and start working on some gussets for these, and we'll go from there. Well, while I'm waiting for this to cool off and trying not to be in a hurry, I decided to go ahead and unbox this rear truss from Spider Tracks. And it's a good thing I did, because it's going to need some modification, number one, but number two, it's going to interfere with this upper link mount that I have, and then I've got to also make sure it doesn't interfere with the lower link mounts. And it looks like I gotta do some trimming, because this side over here is definitely shorter because of the offset of the pinion and the width difference. So yeah, so it's a good thing I did that. I'm gonna measure this thing up and start laying out where I need to cut this thing. They give you these caps that go on the end here, like that, and then you trim them to height, because depending on where you trim the truss back, it's got to be whatever height. And then they give you this little bridge that goes over the back here, and they give you another spider, because you're covering up this spider, which is kind of cool. I'm not a brand endorser guy, but I like this anyway. I like the spider. So I'll put that on there after I get it modified. So anyway, here we go. Something like that. Got that all cut, ready to go. So once I get the finished pass done on these, now I'm gonna go ahead and mark this all out right now and figure out where I need to clean up the tube and everything to get this truss tacked in. And then, yeah, keep on moving forward. This little guy will go right there. Or I'll put my little logo on it. I don't know. We'll see. See what I feel like. Sucker fits like a glove though. Sure glad I bought the prefab one. Saved me a ton of time. Yeah, right here it's taking just about everything I have not to just weld this thing up, but just tack welding it in place so I can get this, move on to the next step. And eventually you'll see here I end up just leaving it tack welded. It's a good thing I do, because there's quite a few other things in the future that are going to be laid over this truss or interfere with the truss, and I've got some other considerations on the buggy that aren't quite thought out yet, which are the bump stop pads and the mounts for the sway bar links. So just a whole lot of figuring, looking at it, checking things out, making sure that this is indeed how I want to do this. One-off parts, one-off axle, custom built for something that's most likely not going to be repeated exactly the same. Well, good morning. You are looking at the rear axle right now. I just tacked in the backbone truss yesterday afternoon. I had to get out of here a little bit early. I woke up this morning thinking about this thing, and I realized that I was planning on mounting my sway bar end links on the back of the axle here. So the way this is set up, I'm not sure this is gonna work unless I mount the end links to the top of the truss, which I'm not sure I want to do that because the truss is only 1/8 inch material. I guess I could mount it right here, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if I like the way this truss is set up. I mean, it fits good and everything. I'm just not sure if I want to run it all the way to these ends like it is. I'm not sure. So what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and, well, the other thing I was thinking about, the other thing I woke up thinking about this morning was I put a second pass on these unit bearing cups, and I'm wondering if I should do a third pass. I don't know if it needs it. It probably doesn't, but I was thinking about just doing it for insurance. Why not? It's here. I'd probably feel better about it if I did. So I'll probably go ahead and do that. And I was also thinking about this upper link mount setup, how I'm going to finish this out. And since the truss is sort of interfering with this link mount and the way things are going to be here, I'm still sort of contemplating on what I'm going to do to bridge these together. I don't know if these are in line with each other, top to bottom. And then the other thing I discovered was that on the lower link mounts, go over here. I discovered that these lower link mounts are rotated. One's rotated down a little more than the other. So I'm gonna have to cut those tacks and fix that up. And this is the best place to do it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna probably move it over to the chassis table here so I have a flat surface that's the complete width of the axle. I can reference the rotation of these off of that flat surface once I get the axle set up to where it's true. So yeah, thinking about a lot of things. I think while it's still up on this table, I'm gonna go ahead and just do a third insurance pass on these uniball cups, or unit bearing cups, and then move it over here, address these. I know these are going to be where they're at. I can go ahead and weld these in and gusset them. I think I'm going to leave these just tack welded together. Obviously leave the link or the truss tack welded together, and stick it back under the buggy and just look at it for a while and see if something else comes to mind. And also need to address the way that sway bar link is gonna, the sway bar links are gonna interface with this. So the other thing was, yesterday I went and picked this up. So yeah, it's the Warren brand. I think this is their more budget-friendly model. It's not the Xeon. The Xeon's $2,000, so this is going to do plenty well for what I'm doing. I would rather take that money and spend it on more important things to me, like engine management, fuel pumps, all the other really expensive stuff that I need to still buy yet to finish out the buggy. The winch is sort of secondary in my opinion, but I do need a winch, so I figure this is a good compromise budget-wise. So I have a plan to get this mounted in. I've got to bend some tube and run some cross tube. Planning on running tube across here and then run a bent tube in here so it kind of bends upward this way and then back down, and then I'll run the fair lead right here on a plate. So That'll be the other thing I'm going to work on today. I'm planning on using the Dragon and the new to me bender. See if I can get that squared away, figure out how to use that, get a little more proficient with it. So those are the things I'm planning on doing today. I don't want to weld anything up on this axle just solid yet, just because I want to stick it under the car and look at it and see if something else comes to me. I'm just not quite, I don't know. I haven't made up my mind if I like this yet. So I'm going to stick it under the car and look at it, contemplate on it. That's what this is about. There's a lot of contemplation going on, a lot of figuring. So anyway, here we go. A couple days after getting this video, I woke up in the morning thinking about this axle, and that's usually when it happens. It's first thing in the morning, things come to me, and I don't know if it's in my sleep or when you're in between waking up and sleeping, but there's a couple other things that I still haven't considered on this, and I really need to make sure I'm cognizant of that. And one of them is the fill hole. I still need to cut in a threaded bung for filling this thing with fluid, and try to locate it in an area where I can inspect the ring gear. So that's why they call them an inspection / fill plug. So I gotta think about that, and make sure that the upper link mounts don't interfere with that. And it's been out of sight, out of mind. So the front axle already has a hole cut in it for the fill bung, but the other thing is the axle breather. I got to figure out where I'm going to put the axle breather, and then how I'm gonna plumb that. Sometimes people put it in actually put it in the third member case. Some people put it on top of the sheet metal housing, but yeah, I got to think about those things too. There's always something that you got to think about 4 or 5 steps ahead. So okay, well, I got the fixture bar out of the axle. I decided it'd be a lot easier just to do it over here. The bottom of the center section has a pretty flat spot, so the axle just sits down on there, and it's pretty balanced, and it's level sitting here. You can tell that one of the link mounts is rolled down while the other one's rolled up a little bit. And I was trying to figure out how I can get these at the same height. And I think what I'm going to do is just set up a laser and shoot a laser beam across there. I'll cut one of them out and get it where I want it, and tack it back in, and then I'll work on gusseting in those link mounts. And yeah, I'm still kind of trying to figure out what I want to do with these top link mounts. I don't know yet. So anyway, one step at a time. Well, what I decided to do, since I have this thing off the bench, is go ahead and address these upper link mounts. And I'm gonna have to, looks like they weren't right to begin with. They weren't plumb, so I got them plumb now. And it looks like what I'm gonna have to do is recut this outer link mount, because it's just completely suspended in the air. And it turns out this inner one was leaned that way. I knew they weren't right, but I didn't realize how far out they were. So I'm gonna have to recut a plate here that will work for this. And then this one too was leaned this way and pulled down, and now I can't get this one to line up to throw the bolt through it. So these two are definitely plumb, and they look pretty good. But what I need to do now is get this, probably cut this off and see if I can get it to line up correctly. What it did, I think, when I welded it, is it pulled down, and this one here is just gonna have to be recut. So luckily I have most of this already drawn up, and I can start just figuring out where it needs to be. So I'm gonna address that while this thing's on the bench, and then also cut the gussets. There's gonna be a gusset that goes in right here, and then I think I'm gonna cut some wing gussets that go like this as well. So yeah, I'm gonna do that while this thing's on the bench. It's gonna probably take me the rest of the day just because of how this goes, but that's okay. I can do the winch mount and stuff later. So anyway, so yeah, cut this off. It's basically the same thing over here. There's a whole bunch of daylight between the case, or the axle housing, and the link bracket. So I'm gonna have to redraw that and redo that. It sucks because I already have these weld washers welded in, but I hate having to redo stuff, but it's not right, so I need to fix it. So here we go. All right, so I believe I've got those figured out. Now what I need to do is get cut up some weld washers for here, just like these, and then I want to cut gussets for this, and then probably some triangle gussets that go across here. I'm also considering, I want to put a big plate gusset that goes across the back of this. You can kind of I don't know, you can't really see it there, but it will go across the back of that, and then it'll tie in, it'll come all the way down, and it'll tie into this here. And then I'm gonna have to figure out some sort of a fill bung for the deal, for the, yeah, fill and inspection port for the axle. So yeah, lots to think about right here. I don't know, I was kind of thinking I'll wait until I get this truss welded in, but now I'm thinking if I got to do this here, then I need to make this gusset look a little bit different. So maybe I start working on that right now so I know which direction I'm headed with that gusset. Yeah, maybe I'll do that now.